Hey everybody, welcome to the HERDFIT podcast with Dr. Sam Rhee and myself, Coach David Syvertsen. This podcast is aimed at helping anyone and everyone looking to enhance their healthy lifestyle through fitness, nutrition, and most importantly, mindset.
All right, welcome back to the HERDFIT podcast. I'm Coach David Syvertsen here with my co-host, Dr. and Coach Sam Rhee. And we brought her back, everybody. Liz Tanzola. Coach Liz Tanzola is back for her second episode on the HERDFIT podcast. And we are going to pursue our third HERDFIT Q&A session. We picked 4 questions to discuss from you guys. And, you know, if you have not sent us a question, but you have something that you want us to discuss, our inbox is always open. We'll do these throughout the year. I would say at least once a quarter, we'll probably send these out. And you guys can always send them. We will eventually get to them. So welcome back, Liz. Thanks for coming back. She's still strapped down to the chair, so she couldn't leave. And Sam, welcome back. We are on episode, I think we're like on 103 right now. So
yeah, it's crazy.
Wow, it's pretty crazy. So let's get into these questions right away. We have 4 of them. Okay. And the first one is, how much do genetics impact one's progress within CrossFit and training overall? Definitely a thought that we've all had before. How much do genetics impact your progress within CrossFit and training overall? Sam?
It can have, okay, so there are 2 thoughts to it for when I think of this. The first is, obviously genetics do impact your performance. Mm-hmm. There's no doubt about it. There are some people that are very gifted in certain areas, some people less so. There's some areas in CrossFit which being good at it naturally, either genetically, can help. But how important is that practically to you? Mm-hmm. If you are a competitive athlete and you are working to compete against others at a very high level, it will make a difference. However, 99.9% of us are not going to the games, as we always say. So it doesn't really matter what my genetics are compared to your genetics or to Liz's genetics. They are what they are. I can't do a thing about my genetics. Right. I can't. I literally cannot. So what I can do is take whatever I've been given genetically and make the most of it. Now, I do have to realize there are some shortcomings. I cannot do certain things maybe because of my hips or this or whatever, and maybe certain things I'm stronger at just because I'm naturally stronger at those things. And so I should work on my weaknesses, realize that as a short person, I'm not going to be awesome at
high box jumps,
30-inch box jumps or whatever,
right?
As much, but maybe that's why I need to work on them more. So what it does do is it makes me realize what my shortcomings are, how I can get them better. It would only be if I was a very competitive athlete and I had to look at that from a I'm comparing myself against you type of standpoint, where I would have to worry about that.
Okay, good answer, Liz.
I would say even from just a competitive standpoint, play to your strengths and, work through your weaknesses. And sometimes that means, like, we'll just use Elena, for example. She's very strong in the gymnastics department. And I consider, I guess, my strength more lifting. So if it was barbell rig, I would be pushing the barbell if I was chasing her. And I would be breaking everything up on the rig. Meanwhile, she's probably banging out 100 toes to bar. And then she might have a different plan on the barbell, right? But we might end up in the same spot at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, at the end of the day, it really doesn't move the needle that much in terms of like your pursuit of fitness, right? If you're going to use Liz's example, the score is kind of the same, and so they're just completely different paths to get there. And, my stance on this is 2 things. One of them is age related, right? Some people, that's where the older crowd usually does bring up genetics more so than someone that's younger. And I think we have to just make sure that when we do bring up genetics, are we kind of trying to make an excuse for ourselves because we're getting older and things are harder and it takes longer to recover? And it is scientifically, that's the case, right? We all break down at some point. We're all going to die at some point. We're all going to lose the biology war at some point. So just be careful. Where's the question coming from? Now, it might come from someone that's been like, dude, I've been working on pull-ups for 6 years and I have not made progress. And as a coach and as a programmer, it could be our fault. Right? It could be something that we're not doing well enough for you. And it could be also maybe you're not putting in as much time as you think you are or that you should, right? Like if I really want to get better at something, if I really want to get better at a snatch, right? I can't just do it once a week or once every 2 weeks. I'll probably stay at my same point doing that, which is fine. For fitness, that's fine. But if you're going to go down the performance road and really go into, and you can call it competing or just chasing after a score, a movement, a first muscle up, there needs to be a lot more work put into than just once a week. And that might mean you take a day off from the gym or your normal CrossFit workouts, and I come in just to work on this type of skill. If that goes down and you still deal with those physical limitations, yeah, you might be at your peak with that, right? Like, I know there's certain things I'm just not going to be able to do with my knees. And I'm doing a lot of PT work and I've seen progress. I'm doing things I've never done in terms of like no knee sleeves and compression because I put extra attention on it. But I still don't, no, I'm never going to look like, Ash on pistols. I know I'm not going to be able to go down to Alex L the way his hamstring gets down flush with his calf at the bottom of a deep squat on the squat clean squat snatch. I just don't think my ability will ever be there with the condition my knee's in. And so I think genetically, right, there are going to be some limitations, but I try to just stay away from the idea of that holding me back. I don't want to use that as an excuse, basically. Competitively, yes, genetics are a huge part. That's why CrossFit profile of male and female athletes, there is a stereotype, a prototype, I should say. But I'm big on, hey, if someone else could do it, I could do it too. Brent Fikowski, he ain't a traditional CrossFit body, and he's one of the best in the world, and he's been one of the best in the world for a very long time. Andy Thornasauter, even some of the athletes here, they do not have traditional body types for CrossFit, and they crush it. So use that as inspiration. And so the answer to this question is I do think genetics do play a part in your potential, all right? But I try to stay away from that thought as often as possible, because if I let that stop me from working on something, that will be why I don't get there, is because the work wasn't put in.
Great answer.
All right. Importance of body language, athletes and coaches, the impact on the community and performance. So that's not really a question, but I think maybe I might have even, I'm trying to think if it was actually a question in the actual post that was sent to me, but really, what is the importance of body language as an athlete and as a coach, and what kind of impact can it have on the community and your actual performance? So I think for the athlete is more performance, the coach is the community. What impact can the body language? No right or wrong answer here, guys. Sam.
I am the worst athlete at the gym when it comes to body language.
That post I just made up, Bison.
What?
Did you see the post I made from Friday's end of workout?
Yeah.
Yes. You are crying against the wall.
I was like, I think you just saw my ass because my head was down on the ground. And yes, I am the poster child for bad body language.
As an athlete.
As an athlete, and I realize that, and I try very hard. I grimace and groan during workouts. I collapse after workouts, and I have tried. I'm trying. It is very challenging, but I do want to change it. Why? Because I do believe body language is critically important. It would help me be a better athlete if I could improve my body language. It would help me be a better person looking at me, in terms of me as a coach.
Yeah.
With better body language.
I mean, even think about someone new come to the gym.
Yeah.
And watching you work out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I mean, I know my children look at me weird when they see me work out because of my body language.
Yeah.
And so I'm not as good of a role model. I could be a better role model. Absolutely. There are all those things. And I look at other people and how they move, and I want to have their body language. Easier said than done.
Absolutely.
And some of it is mental. Some of it is habit. So this actually is a really good question to remind me, because lately I haven't really been thinking about it as much as you caught me. Friday.
And the whole world to see.
Right. But, I think of, like, for example, Kathleen Staunton. I'm like, how the hell is she smiling in the middle of a workout? Like, her body language is always so good in so many instances where she, like, can actually, that's why I think she was so great in the open announcement, because her body language was so positive during it. Like, and I saw that and I was like, wow, I need to do that. So absolutely. Now, how to do that? I'll leave that to you guys, because I'm still working on it.
Kathleen, I won't tell anyone what you did during this past week's wall sit row bike workout. Don't worry. Liz, you're up.
No, we threw her under the bus. This is a loaded question.
It actually is an interesting conversation.
which way to go with it. But like, I think of somebody like Des working out, and her face is literally the same the entire workout. Like, I'm not sure if she's struggling or if she's having a good time, or like, I don't even know. Like, she just keeps going. And
true.
I love that, because I think that's just, you stay in your zone and you're just so focused and you're so there. And I think that's a huge part of it. I think I look around, sometimes see people, like myself included, shaking your head like, oh, like, I don't want to do this anymore. You just know that they're not like mentally in that workout. And they're starting to give up. But it also tells me as a coach, like, all right, you got to get on that person. They need help. But yeah, I think it says a lot about what's going on in your head if I'm judging from a coaching perspective.
Yeah. And it's sometimes from a coaching perspective, when I watch someone really go down the pain cave and it's all over their face and it's like the first half of the workout, you're like, oh boy. You wonder. I'm like, do they want to be here?
Yeah.
You know, every now and then you hear that as a joke, and I've thought it too. It's like sometimes there are certain workouts you're like, this sucks.
Yeah.
Like, I heard that a few times this past week, by the way.
And some really do.
Yeah, they do. There's no question. And yeah, I think that one thing I take away from the athlete perspective is I've always tried to push myself to be my best possible athlete, but I know I'm not a great athlete. Like when I talk about like jumping, running, natural strength, natural gifts, right? And I've always tried to train against people that are in that kind of mold, right? Last week I did a workout with Kyle Rader, one of the rope climb bench press workout. I loved working out with Ryan Ratcliffe. Dallas was my boy for a long time. And all three of those guys are 100% a better athlete than me. And one thing I took away from all of them, they're so smooth. They're just smooth guys. And part of that is that you can tell because they have, all three of them had Division I level sports in their background, right? And I don't want to praise that too much, but I do think it helps that they were in that competitive environment for years, borderline highest level. And they know that mental state takes over performance at some point. And it takes over your performance earlier than you think, whether you're here at a Tuesday WOD in the middle of July or on a big stage like those guys have been. And I think that's something that I really tried to learn from them. I still try to apply. Like, I'm less dramatic than I used to be. I'm still have that in me with certain workouts. But I've noticed that dramatic feel comes from my internal thoughts. It's not, I'm so tired that I need to act like this. It's my internal thoughts, whether I'm disappointed in myself, whether I hate the workout or the movements or someone's beating me or I feel like a failure, right? I think a lot of times that's the dramatic fall that we show after the workout, because you can't look at a guy like Kyle, Ryan, Dallas, and Des and say that they're not working hard because they didn't fall on the ground after the workout. Like, that's a joke to think that. So that's something I think all of us could try to relate to, is maybe on some of these workouts where you are not here to have fun. It doesn't look like it's the most fun workout in the world. Challenge yourself a little bit there rather than just pursuing a score, and see if that actually does, make you kind of increase the performance a little bit. Real quick though, as a coach, do you pay attention to your own body language or tone when you talk? I think tone is probably, in my opinion, more important. You can say something one way and say the same exact thing another way and give completely different messages. What are your body language focuses as coaches, Sam?
I don't have a focus, but I do realize for whatever reason, people tend to take me more serious than like jokey. My family used to say I had kind of a resting bee face or something. I don't know. Like, I always look serious. I don't know if that's just because I've worked so long as a physician that like that I couldn't joke ever at work. Like, jokes were just not appropriate with patients or anyone. Like, you can't have a light tone. Everything has to be super serious and very earnest. And so I come across as very earnest all the time. I don't know.
Okay.
I don't know how to change that.
I don't think you need to.
And I just feel like that's sort of where my default mode is, and that's where I am right now.
All right. So like, you don't really put a ton of thought, like you kind of know from the outside how you come across body language wise, but it's not something you're like showing up to. Like, you come very well prepared for a class.
My main focus when I'm speaking is how can I help my class
understand
and do better. And as long as I focus on that part of it in my brain, I'm not really so worried about like how I'm coming across with
Got it. Liz?
I think I'm the same way. It's like more showing up prepared and like thinking about the class. But then I guess it's just the way it can kind of be perceived too. Like when we're talking about push-ups or something, I just think of Terry. It's like, you want to be like, guys, try not to do this, but I know it's hard for some of you, but really just want to be like, get your chest to the ground and block it out. And like, you do have that, so you have to be careful how you say things.
Yep. And there's a time and place.
Yeah, exactly.
For more stern comments than others. I mean, even yesterday, Sam, I took Sam's Saturday class yesterday, and he was talking about, yesterday was a very hard workout to move well the entire time. Tired push-ups, tired V-ups, tired box jumps, right? And he called a couple people out in the class, or just like macro level, like, hey, a lot of you guys are not going to be moving well at the end of the workout. And that was the case. It really was the case. One thing that I've picked up on are facial expressions when you watch people lift. And I've caught myself, Britt Arce used to call me out on this all the time back in the day, where if someone had like an ugly looking lift and I was like looking from the side, she'd be watching me watch that person lift. And she was like, you did not like that lift. And like, I should not be giving that, that image of, wow, that was a crappy lift, right? I mean, you could easily go talk to the person and say, hey, like, you gotta be a little careful, get your elbows through. So I think that's something I've tried to be more cognizant of over the years, is your facial expressions. When you see something that is not done correctly, you got to be a little careful with that. All right. So your lower body, okay, I would say let's say from the hips on down. This is the next question. How much does the lower body play into gymnastics movements? So think about hips on down to your feet, because gymnastics with handstand push-ups, I mean, for us, it's normally handstand push-ups, toes bar, pull-ups, muscle-ups, handstand walks, wall walks, burpees maybe. They're very upper body and core dominant movements. The lower body does, we talk about it a lot as coaches, all three of us do. How much does it how much can it really help someone that is struggling with the movement in terms of getting better at gymnastics?
Especially for muscle-ups, bar muscle-ups and ring muscle-ups, it's all lower body. Mm-hmm. We just did a fair number of bar muscle-up type workouts, and talking to and coaching through that, it's not really the upper body that's the issue on bar muscle-ups. People get tired and they're not moving hips and below well or as well as they should in order to make that bar muscle up. It's not about the lockout for most people. It's about moving explosively and getting those hips and moving your body through space properly. And every time I go through my ring muscle up progression and learning, they're always hammering, where is your lower body for any given position? When you're in your arch, when you're in your hollow, when you're bringing your hips up. They're never talking about your arms until the very end of the movement. It's about positioning your lower body at the right time, at the right place, in order to get your upper body into position to finish the movement. Mm-hmm. And that's what all of it is. It's all hips. Like, every time I'm looking at people, every time I'm thinking about it, I'm like, move your hips this way, move your hips that way, like speed here, like slow here, like position here. And that's what all these gymnastic movements are to me, at least when I'm coaching them or learning them.
Liz?
I agree. I think transferring the momentum, I think some people don't understand how to do that with their body. Like, some people lead with the knees. Some people can stay, very hollow to arch. Just like finding how your body can become that elasticity and how to move that. And I think it's hard to teach that feeling. I think I still struggle with that, like how to teach people how to move like that and how to stay tight like that. You say it, but they are thinking upper body, like I pull, I got to pull myself up there. And they're not thinking about how to transfer that momentum so that this is easier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I think the hole that I see on muscle ups for someone that just either doesn't have them yet, but can physically do it, or they start to break down, or the movement isn't quality, 98% of them, it's because they're too upper body dominant mentally. It's not physically. They're not so much stronger in their upper body than they are the lower body, but they are thinking the movement is something that different than it really is. Mm-hmm. And the one thing I was looking for today, Sean was working on his muscle ups. He's gotten a lot better with them, by the way.
Oh, he looks great, actually.
And I'm telling you, it's the lower body. It's the only difference that I see. His feet are basically touching on each other on the way up, and he's getting true hip extension. So when I look at someone from the side, when I see those hips going towards the bar, do I really see the hip extension, like the butt squeeze, like you're trying to hump the bar, with the same level as intensity as if you were doing a 1 rep max push press off the rig? You would go full bore hip extension on that, right? that do you extend your hips like that on a muscle up? And if you don't, there's good news here, right? Once you learn it, that movement is easier tomorrow. It's not like 8 weeks from now. And Karen McKinney, who's really close to getting her muscle up, she's going to get it. I don't want to put a time on that. She's going to get it though. I know she's close. I watched her do some stuff the other day. I'm like, she's in that tier. And she has some left in her hips. And that might be it. It might not be pull harder. When I see someone chicken wing, right? We have some athletes that don't start off chicken winging, but when they get tired, they do. And that's core strength. Because it's harder to extend your hips when your core is weak. That's why some gymnasts from back in the day, when they were little kids, a little bit of an advantage on some of these just capacity type workouts with muscle ups. But when you start off looking really clean, you're catching it in a good position, and at the end you start kind of chicken winging, that it's your go-to. It's your natural body's like, hey, I can't get you up there with the hips anymore. You have to kind of climb your way up there rather than elevate your way up there. And like I said, when I'm feeling good on them, the upper body is really just holding on. And like, yes, a little bit of a tug at the end, but that's something to keep in mind, that if your feet stay together, your hips truly extend, and you can maintain that posture over and over, that will bring you to your peak as a gymnast, especially on the rig. I even think that some way about the handstand push-ups too. It's not as obvious or as apparent, but feet together, strong core, extend your hips. It's just as important as the upper body portions of a gymnastics movement. All right, guys, we have one left. For my morning workout people, I know not everyone works out in the morning, but you might at some point. And this is something to, whether life changes and you have to do it, right? Or you want to give it a shot, or you're a Saturday morning person, you're a Sunday open gym person. When you work out in the morning, is fasting after that workout until noon, after the WOD, is that a bad idea? Should protein be primary source after? So basically what that question is asking, I work out in the morning. Do I need to eat after? Can I wait until lunchtime to eat? You're looking, in some cases 7 hours later, maybe as soon as 4 hours later. Or should protein kind of be something I have to eat after every workout? We're not nutritionists, so just want to put that out there. But we've been in this space a long time. All three of us have had spurts of early morning workouts. So that it's a good sounding board to kind of see some of your anecdotal advice and what has worked, what has not worked.
Yeah, so I'm speaking as from my own personal experience and not like as some scientific stuff or whatever. I usually take the 6 a.m. class. I will always, the minute I wake up, about an hour and a half before, drink like 18 ounces of water. Like, I will just down it. I need it. Like, that's just my first go-to. And it just feels like I'm getting some things going. I never eat before that workout. After that workout, I will do a protein shake with like frozen fruit and like all this other BCAA and all this crazy crap that I throw in there. And protein. And to me, I mean, there is some, I mean, I'm not going to go scientific, but you know, when you work out, you're losing, as you mentioned, and it is true, glycogen and the energy that, your body needs in order to move these muscles. Those are depleted. You just did a workout. So you have to replenish that. And so that's carbohydrates. But your muscles are also breaking down, right? Because that's what muscle hypertrophy is your muscle fibers break down a little bit, and then it rebuilds and makes it a little bit bigger because it's adapting, right? You're stressing your system, and it has to compensate by making your muscles stronger in order to work towards that stimulus and adapt to it. And so you need protein too. You don't need to eat like a pound of butter because you don't need that fat. You don't need that kind of calories. What you really need is some carbs and some protein. And that, to me, quickly after a workout will help you, like you said, work out tomorrow better because your muscles are replenishing. And two, it helps them build back up so you're not losing muscle mass. And it really depends on what you're doing in terms of your goal. If you're looking to get stronger, you're looking to build muscle mass, I think it's almost necessary. I don't really find anyone out there in the space saying you should fast after a workout. Like, I've never heard of that, ever. I think that's a very, what they call catabolic or, a state where you're just losing a lot of mass because of it.
Liz was a 5 a.m. for a while. Yeah.
I was.
So
my best workouts.
and you used to, because your work day would usually start later in the day. So you used to sometimes go work out and go back to bed for like an hour, right?
Yeah.
Sometimes. Yeah.
So I definitely do not eat before I work out in the morning.
Yeah.
Like I just like the feel of an empty stomach, and partly that could be just memories of being sick. I don't know, but I do not like to eat before my workout. After, I used to go hours without eating. Like I wouldn't eat till the afternoon. That's when I would start eating. I'd eat till almost late at night. It's a whole nother discussion. But I do think now it's important to eat something. There's a window, I think, after you work out within that hour to get something in your stomach. And I can tell the difference if I don't eat, how I feel. So I don't know exactly. I don't have like a go-to after my workout, but I do need to eat something. I can feel that.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those are both good answers. I think both you guys basically just hit the nail on the head too, is after you eat, I think some people like the feeling of, hey, I worked out, I feel lean after I work out, sweated, haven't eaten yet this morning, so now I am on hour number 12 of not eating, so obviously you're going to feel leaner and tighter. Now I'm going to go to work and work the morning under that state and feel good. Right. And it's a short-term win. Like I've done fasting before, right? We're going to do an episode on at some point, like that week-long fast that I usually do once a year. And other than being miserable for like the first 24 to 36 hours, you do start to feel good, even just energy-wise. But then, if getting lean is one of your goals, that's probably the leanest you feel. So in the moment, it feels great. It's like a short-term pleasure almost. So I get why you do it. And if performance is your goal, it's not a good idea. If getting leaner, but also cutting some calories, it could help. And I'm going to tell you why. If you go and splurge, like some people say your biggest meal of the day should be right after you work out. I don't know. The only if you're really disciplined, I do think that's the way to do it. But the issue with that is, let's say I'm eating 2,800 calories a day right now. Let's say I have a 1,500 cal meal right after I eat. I ain't eating 900 calories a day. Like I'm going to be going over that. Yeah. I'm just not going to. I'm telling you that right now.
You'll be starving.
Yeah, and I just won't be happy. Like I'm a big end of day eater as well. Like I'm finally done, decompressed. Maybe if it's a stressful day, you overeat a little bit, right? So you have to find this balance. Again, answers are usually found in the middle. I think no matter what your goal is, long-term losing weight, to stay out of that like really bad state, you have to eat after you work out. Have to. And there should be carbs there, okay? Even if you're really a keto type, high fat, low carb, I've gone down that road as well. Harvey will get mad at me, all right? But you still, like those people, they tell you if you're in that state, you eat your carbs, that's the workout, all right? Like scientifically, that's probably the most scientific we'll get on this podcast, on this episode is, and this is what helps me in that state, or understand why. Your digestion, eating, and what it does for your body, you should view it as a 48-hour process. So if I work out this morning at 5 to 7 a.m., 2 hours, right? What I eat after that meal is going to help me the next day and also the day after that. So, again, you have to think more than short term. It's not just about the next few hours. Protein, again, that's one of the easiest things to tell. Like no matter what kind of diet you're on, you have to recover. You have to do what you can to help your muscles recover. If you're not the debate with protein right now is, as you get older, can your body even break down all this protein, right? Like I'm still questioning if I should be eating 200 grams of protein as I get older, but no less than 150. And that's a job. I have to start doing that. I have to pay attention to that right away. So if you are thinking about 48 hours of digestion and how it's going to help me in the next 2 days, that process starts immediately after your workout. So if you do ignore eating, the positives of being like feeling tight and lean for the next 4 hours are so short term and not going to help your big picture. So to the point where, yes, the answer to this question is you must eat after you work out. It is tough to be on the go. I bring these little oatmeal cups with me to the gym sometimes, a protein shake, and it's good enough. And I'll have a real meal later. But I hope that answers that question, that view eating as what's going on in your body for the next 48 hours post that. And I think not just the 2 hours. All right. Well, that wraps it up for the HERDFIT Q&A session number 3. We will probably be back with one at some point in maybe May or June. We have a few fun episodes and guests coming up. I haven't told you who's coming up, Sam. We're gonna have to emotionally get ready for this. But thank you so much, Liz, for coming back. Our ratings are gonna shoot through the roof, and you're not getting a dime for it. Because we haven't made a dime yet on this either. But thank you so much for coming on, and we'll see you guys next time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you, everybody, for taking the time out of your day to listen to the HERDFIT podcast. Be on the lookout for next week's episode.